and so forth. I'd like to start with the lady, if that's okay with you. When I was going through your bio, right, first thing that struck me was, of course, Muthoot Papachan Group, right? Such a large group, finance, FinCorp, real estate, hospitality, automobile dealerships, right? You're in all businesses except sports, right? So while you might be the fourth generation family person, you're the first person to get into sports, really, and become director of sports for the company. So why did you choose to pick up sports to begin with?
When I was dabbling with the idea of coming back into my family business, I was in the financial services, and that's where I, learned a lot about what we do at Muthoot too. And one thing that kept coming to me is how can I be a part of much of the CSR work that we do, but not from the lens of charity, but from the lens of development, empowerment, and actually making it sustainable. So my passion was very much into translating CSR into CSV, as we call it. And so sport was the perfect ingredient, I would say, for that. Since for the past decade or so, we've been dabbling into sport for both on the for-profit side as well as on our CSR side.
So the reason I have come into this is I've been always, you can say the madness of motorsports in me, and then I tried my bit to get into this, but in 2019 I found an opportunity to align myself with the passion in one way or the other way. I personally feel that all the sports are important equally in their line and in their vertical. Every sport is important, and every sport got a reason where it brings the economy to the country, and every sport is unique in its own way.
I think firstly, let's go to why not motorsport. I wanted to be the cheap son. I think my entire cricket career was the cost of my brother's front right tire in Formula 1 or something. So I'm glad I could be the cheap son and keep the family afloat in that sense. But look, I think firstly, being a part of sport helped, right? Having played professional cricket, having seen sport in India from various lenses. And I think being a sports person, then a broadcaster, having done that now for a long time, you see various aspects of it, right? And I think when Kabaddi came around in 2014, let's say the revolution of Kabaddi came around in 2014, it was kind of a laughing matter at Star back then, and no one put their hand up to want to be involved. And I had just entered the broadcast space, and I said, you know what, here's an opportunity. I didn't even recall how many players particularly were on either side, and I said, we've all played it at some point, but here's an opportunity to make an impact, and you know what, here's an opening that I could jump into and then make my way into other commentary boxes and other methods. And that's kind of where the punt took place, right? And I think when we got to T-1, I've got goosebumps talking about it now. I think, I remember it, July 26th, 2014, I think it was. And you get to that date and you just felt that we were onto something. I always say there's a few key ingredients for a sporting league. A, stakeholders, the quality of them, and therefore the sustainability of those stakeholders. B, quality of the sport. When you have Indian football at the same time as a United versus Arsenal game, there's a reason why people are watching that perhaps, right? But when you've got the best of the best playing in a sporting league, it counts for a lot. So tick mark there.
Tell us a little bit about GSIC and the work you do there, Iris.
Thank you. I'm very happy. It's my first time in India. I speak Spanglish. I'm original from Argentina, and then maybe you should do a little effort to understand my English. And the Global Sport Innovation Center, powered by Microsoft, is a non-profit organization where we try to create like a meeting point where sport entities and startups, governments, universities, large companies, brands who sponsor the sport too, to try to solve problem statement.
I think the one thing that we need to remember when we talk about the development of technology in sport is, especially from a CricViz perspective, is data's been around for a long time. And that is fundamentally what a lot of the technology is based upon. And I think the one thing that technology is enabling us to do is obviously utilize that data. Fundamental part of our business is how to improve performance with technology, and obviously being data or having data to underpin that. So I think that's how I would see it from our perspective. But I think ultimately the increase of technology use is only going to help us, going to improve our industry, and I think we're seeing that at the moment.
Important to look beyond social media when you're talking about technology and AI. I think first step to that is building your own platforms, right? So IPL teams, we work with 7 out of 10 IPL teams, and their focus in the past 4 years is to bolster their own tech infrastructure, which is their own apps and websites, right? Now, once you have that, there are different elements you can play with beyond just content, reels, and videos, right? Which is one big aspect is gamification. And beyond gamification, there is a whole layer of fan loyalty program that the IPL teams are trying to build. And that helps deepen the fan engagement further beyond content.
Sure.
That's how we look at building India's very own global esports broadcasting, which will be affordable, local, and accessible to everyone. Our journey rests on 3 strong pillars. First is gaming. We are reimagining India's traditional games into formats that can stand proudly on the global esports stage. Second is scaling. Our strength is accessibility. Most global esports require very expensive consoles, very high-end tech setup, very high internet connectivity. Zupi makes competitive gaming possible in a simple smartphone, even with a 3G or a 4G. And lastly, the team. None of this is possible without having the right people who are committed.
आप में से बहुत लोग यही बोलते हैं कि इंडिया में टैलेंट बहुत है बट उनको मौका नहीं मिल रहा है. क्यों मौका नहीं मिलता है? क्योंकि टैलेंट आइडेंटिफिकेशन is one challenge, and the second challenge is giving the proper sports infrastructure at the village panchayat and the nyay panchayat level. So we have standardized our mini stadium infrastructure wherein we in advance decide कि हमारी अगर वॉलीबॉल कोर्ट है तो कैसे होना चाहिए, टेनिस है तो कैसे होना चाहिए, रेसलिंग अगर मैट्स है तो कैसे होना चाहिए. वी हैव स्टैंडर्डाइज्ड द इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एट द तालुका लेवल, एंड ऑल्सो द पॉलिसी डिसीजन इज टू हैव अ खेल का मैदान, ए प्ले फील्ड एट द विलेज पंचायत लेवल्स.
CSR funding on sports is not just checkbook philanthropy, but is going much deeper. I mean, it's going into impactful work, and I think my panel here who represent foundations which are doing exactly that. So maybe Anupam, you can start.
We at Vedanta, which I represent Vedanta and Hindustan Zinc, have been in this legacy of promoting sports pretty much from the very, very beginning itself, even before the advent of the CSR Act. For us, it was more so a kind of an element of finding ourselves as an organization, what we could take back in our ecosystems wherever we are working, or across our locations, across our states where we are working. But what has been a key element is, one is to promote that as a sport, but to also look at building in multi-causes or areas, issues that matter to the larger communities into that foray. So it's not just sport, but it's sport combined with holistic development.
It started around 2016-17 with the focus of engaging children in the grassroots, helping them get into education. That is how it was started, where we were working with education for a long time, especially in the regions of Jharkhand, Odisha, where we saw that the children were playing hockey more on the field outside than they were inside in the schools. So we said, okay, why can't we revive the culture of play in those regions?
So we have one student named Anita. Like the way you all know about Dharavi in Chennai, there is a slum called Kannagi Nagar, which is considered to be second largest after Dharavi with 1.7 lakh household. And in that particular community, we started Sports for Change initiative, and there were a lot of trauma and stigma around it in starting a Kabaddi program for girls. There was one girl named Anita who spearhead this movement from that community, was working very hard on this. She won various medals at state level, district level, and finally she went on to win bronze medal for Tamil Nadu in 2022 National Games.
The definition of sports in the country is expanding dramatically. From performance to competition, it's now becoming all about fitness, community, entertainment, and personal achievement. So how do you think that these new variants of sports redefining the entire ecosystem?
For any industry to grow, you will have to have look at a pyramidical approach. The bigger the base, the higher it will go up. So the more you expand the base from different angles in volleyball and arm wrestling, from different strata of life and different age and different genders, the base is expanding, and as the base is expanding, the pyramid is rising up to the top, and then you'll start seeing excellence coming in there. And I think that has been the acceptability of sports, not just as a sport, as a community exercise, as a character building exercise for schools encouraging, parents encouraging, as a fun thing to do with colleagues or family, like in case of pickleball. I think a whole bunch of new elements which are new to Indian sporting scene are coming, but they are known, and these things are known in other parts of the world. But they're all great signs. I think we are all in it in a moment of flux. I think the time has come. I think it will be a big, huge hockey curve in the next few years, if not even, probably even sooner than that.
Yes, Neha.
For us, today running in India is 20 years old. We just in January celebrated the 20th edition of the Tata Mumbai Marathon. On 12th of October, we'll celebrate the 20th edition of the Vedanta Delhi Half Marathon. I think these two events really set the stage for running in India. And now, what's exciting for us is that these are no longer a metro phenomena and increasingly becoming gender neutral. I think that's the key for us. So today, in every part of our city, every part of the town, there are multiple running events that are organized, community runs, yoga programs, fitness festivals. In our races itself, we are seeing over 20 to 25% of increase in women participation. And this is not just a 5 kilometer. There are timed races like the half marathon or full marathon, which are seeing increased number of participation.
Yeah, I think, as you said, the base is widening. And just to add on, for example, High Rocks has about 33% women participation. And globally, it's about 45, right? So we've just started 4 months old, and we know we'll get there too. So that's increasing. And as she said, the running as a participative sport is wide. When we brought Ironman to India, there were only a few triathletes. But now once they get it here, it's a lifestyle. And if you look at the gym-going public, they never had a race or a sport. They were really disciplined, active, everything else. So when High Rocks came in, maybe the base is not expanding, but an existing base now have an event to look up to. So I think each of us are doing it in very different ways, but that's how I think it's growing.
In our country, which is expanding now, of course, when we talk about new sport also, we're basically talking about non-cricket and now non-kabaddi sports, yes, right? Yes. Because it's, if I speak about ourselves, it's kind of ironical but good in a way for ourselves. Panja is one of the oldest sports in the world, right? But it's seen as a new sport now, which is great because it's coming with a fresh appeal. And I think culturally as a country, we are also changing, which allows where people want to be a part of, all of these events like High Rocks and, chess has been huge, but now, becoming acceptable as a sport where you can make a living and everything, and volleyball and all of these sports which are growing. I think the government does have a hand in that as well. We've got to give them some credit that they have kind of made it acceptable, and a lot of states are starting to follow in line with the whole Olympic movement and bringing sports and understanding the soft power of sport.
In India, volleyball has a huge base across regions. The only problem that we saw, and that was an opportunity, was people in India saw volleyball or global volleyball once every 4 years when Olympics happened or Asian Games happened. Incidentally, Olympics, India obviously never played the team sport of volleyball, or they could never qualify, but the ratings that volleyball as a sport that they got during Olympics, it was among the highest viewed sport on national television in spite of India not playing. And what we realized was that if we could create a professional league and give a platform to our Indian volleyball players, because our boys, they play at a very high level. I'm talking about men's volleyball currently, indoor volleyball. They play at a very high level and they just needed a platform, and that's what we did. And that's how the genesis of Prime Volleyball League started.
We have an esteemed panel here. So let me start with Nilesh Kulkarni. Can you just introduce this topic? How this thought about the Institute of Sports Management came about?
See, the emergence of IPL as a sports annual property allowed India to consider business of sport as a platform for creating opportunities for aspiring professionals to make a career. Post IPL, PKL, ISL, all the national leagues, private leagues got established, through which there are opportunities got created. And our introduction of IISM actually started with the IPL in 2008, when me and my wife actually saw more than 100+ foreign people managing an event like IPL. That actually became a start for us, saying that why can't we have trained professionals from India managing large-scale Indian sporting economy-driven opportunities to make a successful career. And that actually became a start point for us to introduce IISM.
As sports grows, its ramification into various components of the events, the sports careers, the sporting ecosystem grows. If you watch out, we have brought in the new sports policy. Earlier, the policy was largely about khiladi, medal. Today, we structured it into 5 verticals, and one whole vertical is devoted to the economy of sports. So where we are talking about bringing big games in, building capacities around sports, and also building the capacity that is required for an athlete to perform.
See, I see sports as something which should be in the DNA of the schools and universities. And because if you pick up anybody's journey in their life, the first time when you try a sport is either in your neighborhood or in a school. The other thing what I have seen is the participation of families and parents, what support they have started giving to their child. There was a time when a child was introduced, when you had few visitors at home, that listen, he is very good at science, he is very good at mathematics, this guy can speak or recite this poem, he can talk about this shalok. Now when you meet a parent today of a child, he speaks about what sports the child is playing. So it's very encouraging to see that shift and that transition in the priorities and the pride of a player, of a parent, and of the community.
First of all, I want to highlight that we are now firmly in the global spotlight for sport in this country. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One of them is because we're now an economic powerhouse, and we need to take advantage of the fact that economic powerhouses normally and usually become sporting powerhouses with time. So I think we've started that journey now, and we need to grab that and run with it. And we're going to have to work out strategies how that's going to happen. But that is going to happen.
We are glad to announce that we are the first state which has recognized what sports medicine means, and we have a dedicated directorate of sports medicine with a director, a joint director, 13 doctors and 100 supporting staff, and all of these are permanent employments. We are creating a state-of-the-art lab at the state level. 6 different specialities will be there in those labs, and then we will have 13 satellite centers across the state of Punjab purely dedicated to sports medicine.
I would ask Sir first, what is the vision of the government of India going forward, when you're pressing ahead for 2036 Olympics, and how do you intend to work a way towards it?
I want to very clearly say that Honorable Prime Minister himself has echoed the nation's sentiment by saying that we would like to be hosting Olympics in coming days. Now, in a country's journey, there are moments when we take a particular flight path of growth where we would like to be called and known as a country which is capable of hosting an Olympics game, and also the dream of Vikasit Bharat, Develop India by 1947. So in that process, hosting an Olympic is not a question of only hosting a game. It's a process which we need to live through, and we need to feel that sense of pride in doing this. Now, there is process of awarding the hosting of an Olympics by the International Olympic Committee, which we have to go through the process. There is a bidding process which takes time, that you are all aware about, which is well covered in the media. But from me, from the government point of view, we are looking at the entire ecosystem to be completely rejuvenated, because as I said, hosting of the Olympics for those 15-20 days is one issue, but to gear up the entire nation to be able to feel that pulse for hosting an Olympic and be part of that global movement is a very different issue.
All the list of tournaments that you've told now, with the Asiads, with the Commonwealth Games, the World Cups of cricket, you see, India's done exceedingly well in all those events because it's at home. Yeah. And we put all our energy, to make sure not just the games is successful as an event itself, but also the athletes and the whole ecosystem supporting the athletes also put in a lot of effort into going and showing that we're doing well at home. And personally for me, I've played some of the best tournaments at home. Okay. So that's the best thing you can give an athlete.
देखिए पैरा स्पोर्ट्स में जो लास्ट 10 साल में मैं बदलाव देख रहा हूँ हमारे कंट्री में, वो एक बहुत बड़ा बदलाव है। मैं 2004 की बात करूँ तो सिर्फ हमने 2 मेडल जीते थे। 2008 बीजिंग पैरालंपिक की मैं बात करूँ तो हमने कोई मेडल नहीं जीत पाए थे। लंदन पैरालंपिक में एकमात्र सिल्वर मेडल जीता, लेकिन उसके बाद पेरिस और रियो पैरालंपिक में हमने 4 मेडल जीते। यहाँ हमारी थोड़ी ग्रोथ नज़र आई। टोक्यो पैरालंपिक में हमने बहुत ही शानदार परफॉर्मेंस देते हुए हमने 19 मेडल जीते, और पेरिस पैरालंपिक में 50% की ग्रोथ करते हुए हमने 29 मेडल जीते। 50%। यदि मैं कंट्री वाइज कहूँ तो आईपीसी ने ये माना है कि सबसे ज़्यादा मेडल वाइज कोई ग्रोथ करने वाला कंट्री था तो वो इंडिया था। हमने 50% मेडल ग्रोथ दी है।
Good evening, everybody. And I am a little nervous, I must admit. Probably one of the few times I'm nervous on stage. To be sitting here with a legend and with a person whom I believe who taught India how to win in sports. And that's Kapil Dev. Thank you, sir, for giving us the time and coming in and talking to us. Sportstar is eternally grateful for this.
Namaskar. Thank you very much. Given me opportunity to come here and share my thought with the people who look after the sports in our country.
Thank you. So, Kapilji, over the last 2 days, Playcom has been a conversation over 2 days on largely non-cricket. It's been on various sports, how to monetize non-cricket sports, whether it's monetizing the fan base, whether it's getting sponsors, whether it's getting governments to support it, whether it's getting CSR arms of organizations to support it, but how do you sustain them, how do you grow them? Because universally, in these 2 days, everybody agreed that India is on the cusp now of takeoff as far as sports is concerned.
But with the same breath, you can't avoid cricket. Whatever you say that, but if you want to take a leap, you have to talk about cricket, because cricket have shown us, yes, if cricket can reach there, why not other sports? So that's why you can't ignore cricket in whichever manner you talk. We should say, yes, cricket have showed us the route. Now we want to reach there. And that's nothing wrong. At least some sports has shown us how to reach on top and lead the world from every angle.
But also there was a sense during these 2 days that because of cricket, all the other sports are stepchildren.
Well, we have to work hard on that side. Why we should say cricket? Yes, cricket done their job. Let's other sports people work hard to make it there. But don't try to say, if you got a benchmark, we can always follow. Like athlete, always need a starter. You need a starter. You already seen that cricket have reached there. Why not other sports follow the similar, not similar, maybe the same route to reach on top?